Deadly Tarantula Girl, coming to you from my inside office with Mr. Amad Osman of Ozzy Boids. Boids.
Boys,
Boids.
whatever floats your boat.
So, I'm here with Ozzy. He's in his home today. Thank you for joining us. How's your
Hey guys,
Sunday going, Ozzy?
what's that?
How's your Sunday going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's pretty nice. Finally got a little spring weather, so definitely
Yeah,
enjoying that.
it's been pretty cold where you live, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been starting to warm up, but it's been a long winter. You know what I mean? It's been pretty cold. So I was in North Carolina last week, and I just got back, and it's been nice ever since I got back. So
Well,
even
that's
North Carolina was a little chilly
really wow.
first part of the week.
So, tell us a little bit about where you are and where you came from.
Well, right now, I'm at a good point in my life. I'm as of 2017. I've been semi-retired, so I quit my 9 to 5. Um, right now, I'm doing a little consultant work, investing in real estate, doing the snakes, and me and my buddy Eric started a feeder company last year. So I've been spending a little time on that, getting that business up and running, but pretty much having fun. Um, it's uh, it's good. It's good to be alive right now. Let's just say that.
Awesome. Well, that's really good to hear. So, for how many years were you in your field professionally? Because I know that you just within the last few years retired from your career. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
So I worked in the biotech industry, and I still do. I still consult. So I do consulting, and basically my focus was regulatory compliance and working with vaccines and biologics. So I've been doing that for about 22 years now, um, and it's a job I enjoy. Definitely enjoy it. I I find it the job itself to be rewarding and worthwhile. So yeah, but working a 9 to 5, and really my job was never a 9 to 5. You always ended up working a lot of overtime, working from home, working on the weekends, etc. Especially as you get promoted, you get up into management level positions. It's uh, it's very demanding, and you're basically salaried, so you got to work.
Right.
You got to work all the time. So
So, so what's your educational background?
I have a BS in biology from George Mason University.
And so that's why you got into biotech. Interesting.
Yeah, I got into biotech by accident, to be honest with you, because initially I got an associate's degree in medical lab technology, and you have to take a board exam before you can start working in a lab. And I had taken my exam, and I was waiting for my certification to come back, so I started looking for temporary positions, and I ended up, this temp agency sent me to work for a company called MedImmune, which was a very small startup at the time. And that was my first exposure to biotech, and I loved it. I thought it was a very fascinating field. And then I was doing my clinical rotations in a hospital, and the difference between the people that were working in a hospital versus the people that were working at MedImmune was night and day. People
Hmm.
in the hospital were miserable, overworked, you could tell they were unhappy.
Right.
And, versus the biotech industry, it was a lot more exciting. People were more engaged and into their careers. And, I think they were making more money too. And, you had things like stock options and stuff like that, which could end up being very lucrative. So I guess people felt a little more into their jobs.
Right.
So, so when I finished, my BS, I went right back to biotech. I
Hmm.
was going to do physical therapy, but then I just changed course and I came back to the biotech industry and pretty much stayed after that.
Interesting. So, along what point in the road did you start getting interested in reptiles? Was that a childhood thing or adulthood?
Yeah, yeah. I've always been interested in reptiles, and I had collected reptiles when I was a kid. Then I got away from it, and then in I believe it was around 2000, I got back into it, and at the time I just wanted a snake, and I wanted a small constrictor because I lived in a condo, so I started doing a little research and um, came across the ball python, and they were, small constrictors. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to get a ball python. And I started going online and researching because I had boas and corn snakes and all of that when I was a kid, but I never had a ball python. So I went online and started doing some research. And then I started finding all of these morphs and,
Oh yeah.
king snake and Ralph Davis and Pete Call and Nerd and all
Right.
the guys they were actually breeding and producing some wild stuff. So um, I got exposed and then I got hooked. And next thing you knew, the collection started to grow, and it quickly, about 3 years later, it turned into a business. I had made about, I don't know, I made like $45,000 or something, and I was sitting down with my CPA, and he said, you're gonna have to report this. He was like, you might as well just turn it into a hobby business because otherwise you're gonna pay all these taxes and you're not
Right.
gonna have any write-offs. So yeah, and Ozzy Boids was a screen name that I used to use.
Ah,
But he was like, "What are you going to call the company?" I was like sitting in his office. It was just, you know,
so where did that come from? What is that?
Ozzy Boids.
Yeah.
Ozzy is from my last name, Osman.
Right.
So that's always been a nickname. People call me Oz, Ozzy, and Boids is from the phylogenetic tree for constrictor. So
Mm,
Boids is the constrictor, which covers pythons and boas.
right.
The slang term would be boids or boids, and so that's where that came from, Ozzy Boids.
Well, that makes sense. Boas. So that's why I thought
Yeah,
it was Boids.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Look it
kind
up.
of
Look it up. It's Boids on the
it's
phylogenetic
kind of
tree.
morphed into Boyd. Boyd.
Boids. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Um,
That's the way it's spelled. I'm from New York.
there we go. So, are you still in the New York area?
No, I live outside of DC. I live in Montgomery County in
Okay.
Maryland. Um, so DC suburbs. Yeah,
And so
left New York a while ago.
I was going to ask, what brought you to the DC area?
I had a cousin living in Virginia, um, and he came to New York, just surprise visit. He was in the Air Force at the time, and actually he was in the Air Force Reserves, and he was living up here in Virginia, and he was visiting New York, and he just decided he was going to come visit. They used to live in New Jersey, so unexpected, just showed up at my doorstep on a Sunday, and we started talking. And he basically invited me. He asked me what I was doing. I was pretty much not doing much at all, and he just gave me an opportunity to like leave New York, and he was basically raising his son by himself at the time, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come up? Rent a room. You could get a job, go to school, or whatever." So
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you went into the biotech industry, and then was it after that you got your first ball python in around the year 2000?
No, I was still in school at the time when I got my first when I started getting back into the snakes.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was living in Virginia, and then when I graduated, I ended up taking a job in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ended up in Frederick, Maryland, and I bought a little townhouse. And at that point, I had a basement, spare bedroom, so my collection kind of grew from that point on.
Oh, I see. And there was no turning back from there.
Nope. It's all downhill ever since.
Yeah.
Or uphill, however you want to look at it.
Right, right. So, so the year 2000, is that when Ozzy Boids was born?
I don't know if it was quite 2000. Again, like I said, Ozzy Boids was a screen name.
Right, right.
On a forum. And, you know, I was 2000. I definitely got back into the hobby. And I think my first clutch was somewhere around 2001, 2002.
Okay.
But at that point, I was collecting and, you know, selling some stuff online, etc. And my business formation actually began in 2003. January 1st, 2003 is when I first formed Ozzy Boids as a sole proprietorship.
Interesting. I don't know if you can see,
I see something.
This is, yeah, my dog's trying to be sneaky here. Britus, you may as well say hello. Come here.
The big boy. Is he a mastiff?
He's hiding. Yes, this is my English mastiff. Come here.
Nice.
Yeah, he's very stealthy. Yeah, just a little bitty guy here. Yeah, he doesn't know that he was a big dog because he was raised by Chihuahuas, but that's another story. Yep, he's
a big boy.
Just goes on and on. All right, so I know that you've kept some different stuff throughout the years, but as far as your business, you're most known for ball pythons and some of the morphs that you've come up with. What is some of the other reptiles that you've kept, been interested in, and are currently working with?
I'm only working with boa constrictors other than ball pythons.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. For a while, I opened up a reptile shop.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a little warehouse, and I had this 38-foot wall of displays.
Uh-huh.
And I bought a bunch of retics, and yeah, but that didn't last very long. So I didn't have a lot of luck with the retics. I just couldn't figure it out. And I've always tried to stay disciplined.
Yeah.
Reptile folks, we love all kinds of reptiles.
Right.
Fascinated with animals, right? So it's easy, I think, to get distracted. And I think one of the reasons why I've had success is I focused on, basically the two species, but mainly ball pythons. I just really focused on ball pythons and decided that would be my specialty. I love boas. I'll always have boas, but I don't have a large number of boas. I have about, I don't know, maybe about 8 females.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So are you only keeping one species of boas?
Well, I have some small leopard boas and blood boas,
Okay.
So those are more, northern island boas. And then I have BCI. I don't have any BCC, at least not knowingly,
Okay.
Because I breed morphs. I don't breed locales. So
right.
But you know how that is. People will crossbreed them, and you just really don't know what you have.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I have a big jungle, double head, square tail VPI. I'm not even sure if the square tail is considered heterozygous recessive trait anymore, but that's a big girl. She's big. So,
is she?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she had some BCC blood in her. But mostly Imparata. BCI,
interesting.
BCI.
Well, we've got a couple people on the feed here who are saying what's up. We've got Tavian's World of Reptile, Snake Man, Dakota Boyd, TJ's Fish and Reptile, Brian Conroy, Snake Man, White Cat, Silly Snakes, Family Jewels, and they're all saying, "What's up?" Oh, John Feely's here. Love John
What's up, guys?
Feely. So they're all saying, "What's up?" Family Jewels is saying that he bought one of his first snakes to breed with an Orange Dream Het Ultramel. Somebody's saying Oakland Bay, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Pendleton. So
Crazy.
got some
Nationwide.
people.
Reptile Nation.
Yeah, we got some people chiming in.
Very
Usually
cool.
we have some internationals. Oh, greetings from Poland, California. So, yeah.
Nice.
Tavian's World of Reptiles, I know, has a channel. John Feely of Feely's Clutch, I know, has a channel. So check them out. Cool, guys. Hey. Oh, we've got a little visitor here. This is my big girl. She's the one that bosses the little guy around that you saw. Oh, we've got a Canada coming on. Incredible reptile designs from Canada.
Nice.
All right. So you are not only known for your ball python morphs, but you're kind of hated on for being all like fit and in shape and all that.
Really? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Oh, yeah. Somebody told me I'm gonna see if you tell him how handsome he is and all this stuff, and he's like, I'm gonna be listening. And I told him not to be jealous, that I have love for him, but that I've got love and mad respect for you too. So yes.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I never considered myself like super fit. I mean, I worked in the biotech industry for 20 years, and I was basically handcuffed to a desk.
Well, I know that you've kind of taken charge of your fitness more recently. Tell us about that. How do you juggle all that? What do you do?
Part of the reason why I wanted to quit was just because I felt like crap. But yeah, so now I just, I try to prioritize working out, going to the gym, eating good, things like that. I mean, got to take care of yourself.
So do you follow like a certain diet, or I mean, do you weightlift? Do you do cardio? What do you like to do?
I like to do about 20 minutes of cardio, and then I do weights. So
awesome.
I like what's your rowing machine? That's always a good workout, and then basically I just do weights.
What's your favorite day at the gym? What body part do you like to work?
Ooh. I don't know that I enjoy any of it for real.
Well, I tell you,
I feel good afterwards, but
I hate leg day. I hate squats. I hate deadlifts. I hate all that stuff. But it does the body good.
Yeah, you feel good afterwards for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, a week afterwards.
Really? No, a week afterwards, I'm still sore.
I know. So I was sore from last leg day until yesterday, I think. And we do legs on Monday, so I don't know. Maybe I hit it.
Don't you do like don't you do yoga or something? Or...
I teach yoga, and I'm a dancer, and I teach dance. And
MMA.
I do. And I run. I don't run every day. I run when I can. I do cardio. I do weightlifting. Okay. So, yeah, I have, I mean, yoga is a good core exercises. Dancing is good cardio. And I mean, yeah, you work everything. Belly dancing's like, I don't know, an amazing exercise. It's crazy. The muscles that you didn't realize that you had could be sore. So what about your eating? What do you have like a plan that you follow, or what do you do?
No, I eat whatever, but I just try to eat, I try to eat real food.
Okay.
So I don't eat a lot of processed food. And one of the other hobbies that I took up too, since I quit, I have a little more free time on my hand, is cooking. So I like home cooked food too. So I like to cook too. So I'm getting better at it.
What are your favorite dishes?
As good as my man Mark Mandick, but yeah, my skills are definitely improving.
So is Mark a chef? I didn't know that about him.
Marcus Jane, yeah, Mark Mandick, definitely, yeah. he's an excellent cook. So if you ever go to Canada,
Awesome.
go visit him.
I'm coming, Mark. I'm expecting dinner too. Watch out. I like to eat.
Yeah, he's an excellent cook.
What's your favorite dish to make?
Wow.
Or what are you good at making?
Right now, oxtail with rice and peas, which is a Jamaican dish.
Mmm.
That
Never had that.
it's a Jamaican dish, so I used to eat it a lot in Brooklyn when I was growing up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right now that's my favorite dish. But
Mm.
I do all kinds of stuff. I make some okra dishes, fish, steak, whatever.
Interesting. So I know that you were married and you have 2 daughters. Is that right?
Yep. I have 2 kids, 2 girls.
So how old are your babies? And what were your wife's feelings about you starting your own business? I mean, there's always, I think, some stress in doing that, you know, with your time and kind of the financial worries.
Well, my wife, my first wife, was terrified. We didn't have kids together. She was terrified. She was terrified of snakes, and it was after getting divorced from her back in '99 that I decided to pick up a snake.
Okay.
So that was one of the that was one of the benefits.
All right.
That came out of that divorce. But yeah, then after that, the mother of my 2 daughters, she's totally cool with it. And I had snakes when we met.
Okay.
So she's always been cool and supportive of it. She doesn't mind them at all.
So, I mean, when you all were together, you still were working a 9 to 5 the whole time.
Yep, pretty much.
What would you have to say to those who are working, running a business, and they kind of feel like they're on the cusp that they feel like it's time to go full time? Because you've done that now. However, that's been after years and years of, you know, your business already being successful.
Yeah. So having 2 income streams was really, really helpful and beneficial. Again, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I'm the kind of person who likes to have a lot of different things going on. And I kind of like to have insurance. And I think one of the things that kept me going over the years, because, you know, over the past, I don't know how long I've been doing this now, over, 19 years now, there's been a lot of ups and downs with the industry and, recessions and, all kinds of stuff. So it was helpful to not have to worry about paying the bills with my collection.
Right.
It basically eliminated a lot of the stress that would be associated with, having a reptile business as your sole business. I mean, it sounds good, and I know people who do it, but from my experience, the people who do it full time and that's their main income, they don't love it as much.
Right.
At least from my vantage point, I don't think they're enjoying it the way they used to. I think initially they may have been drawn to it because they were passionate and they really enjoyed working with the animals. But then I just think it becomes a drag. And really one of the most difficult parts, I think, is just dealing with customers. And, there's a lot of people, people don't realize, like, when you post ads and you're trying to sell animals, you get a lot of inquiries, and, 80% of the people are just tire kickers or time wasters, or, so that it can really become overwhelming really, really fast. And I know some guys that they kind of lose their temper and they get grumpy.
Right. Well, and especially
I've been there too.
Well, someone who's made a name for himself, you, for example, a lot of those people, they just want to send you an email. They just want you to answer them back. They may not have the money to buy
Yeah.
your snake. And so, they're going to come and ask you questions like, oh, how many grams is it today? Or,
Yeah.
well, I don't know, just kind of like you said, looky-loos, time wasters. And that gets frustrating really quickly because obviously I have a business, but our channel too, we have people commenting. Sometimes they'll say the craziest stuff just because
Yeah.
they want me to comment back to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, stuff like that. And it takes a lot of time and it can be, it takes a lot of your energy.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. So you got to balance, you got to understand too. Like at the end of the day, I'm a hobbyist. I'm a breeder. I'm a collector. I'm really breeding the stuff that I breed. I'm breeding to make stuff for myself, honestly. And
Right.
basically, I sell what I don't keep. And I don't have a big customer service department. I don't have a bunch of employees. I'm I'm a one-man team, so I'm doing the accounting, I'm doing the shipping, I'm doing the bookkeeping, I'm doing the labels, I'm feeding the snakes, I'm taking care of the snakes. You got to take pictures, etc. And
Right.
and along with all of that, you may have your job, your family, or you're just trying to find some time to go to the gym,
Right.
whatever, or just cook dinner, or just watch a movie with your kids. So it's really really difficult. And and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and some people are just not very business savvy, or they have unrealistic expectations for
Mm-hmm.
what they expect. You produce some cool stuff, you post it. If it's not sold in 2 weeks, you start panicking and dropping the price. You're not going to sustain your business that way. Um, if you have inventory and it takes you a year to sell all of your inventory, that's a pretty good business. But,
Right.
but people don't get that. If you have an animal and it doesn't sell right away, just, feed it good, take care of it. And, in a year, it's going to be bigger, probably worth more money, or it's going to grow into the intended value that you placed on it. So,
Right.
yeah, so it's not as simple as it sounds. Keeping the animals, taking care of the animals, figuring out how to breed them is a lot easier. Marketing, dealing with customers, developing good policies, and making sure you have good customer service, and you treat your customers and your animals well. Um, that takes a lot of planning, patience and research, and it's time consuming.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know of circumstances where people maybe they get a little bit interested in reptiles. They go to a show, they see some of these high dollar ball pythons, and they think, "Oh, I'm going to buy a couple snakes. I'm going to breed them. This is so easy. I'm gonna make a bunch of money, within a year or
Yeah.
two."
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, there's a whole learning curve between getting your first snake and reproducing viable clutches that are going to be worth more than $50 to $100 a piece for sure.
Yeah. So initially you have to invest in good stock. I think now, now is as good a time as any to get into the hobby, because you can buy, 4 or 5 gene animals for really, really cheap, and you could produce some really amazing stuff if
Right.
if you put some thought into it and you have the patience. You know,
Right.
you see some of the stuff that I post, some of those projects I've been working on those projects 4, 5, 8, 10 years. So
Exactly.
that's an example of just long-term dedication. And if you put that much time and effort into anything, day in and day out, week after week, year after year, you're going to have success. So
Right.
you really, really enjoy the reptiles. You know, my recommendation is to, use it as a hobby business, a little side business, focus on high-end, unique animals, produce stuff that not a lot of people have, and
Right.
it'll sell. It really will sell, and you can generate some really good coin, um, to on top of what you're already making in your regular job. It's
Right.
And if you're smart with that money, and if if you're wise with that money and you reinvest that money instead of just spending it on junk, right? So
Yeah.
you can really create that wealth, and eventually that financial freedom. At which point you could pretty much do what you want to do. If you want to just breed snakes full time, you could. But I think it's really important to have more than one income stream.
Right.
Most people rely on just their 9 to 5, and I think
So,
that's adequate.
for somebody who's maybe considering going professional, what would you say are the most important tools, equipment? I mean, do you have a favorite rat company that you use? What's most important, do you think? Do you breed your own? Well, obviously now you breed your own rodents, but what do you think about? Do you think that breeders should all be breeding their own rodents? What do you think about that?
I think if you can find a reliable rodent source, that's the way to go, because breeding rodents is it's a completely different set of challenges, and it's not easy.
Right.
But at the same time, too, sometimes it's just not easy to find a reliable, professional, rodent provider that's going to provide you with healthy rodents.
Right.
So,
except for you now.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like today, I went to my facility and I handpicked, my own rodents, and I know they're healthy, I know they're clean, and so that's a huge advantage to have that. But the other thing too is the rodent business is a very lucrative business. You can make 6 figures breeding rodents a lot easier than you can, breaking into the reptile world. And
yeah, that's true.
That business is recession proof, and the demand is there. So if anybody wanted to start their own business, and don't get me wrong, it's not an easy business, but it's also not extremely difficult. It just takes,
Right.
It just takes somebody who's consistent and who's willing to work hard and pay attention to detail, and not want to take a bunch of time off.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with the snakes. You have to be consistent. So that business is a very good business. So the most important thing I would say is to find that balance. The most important thing is going to be the size of your collection.
Okay.
So what you want to keep the size of your collection at a place where you still enjoy going down into your snake room or whatever and cleaning and feeding and doing your weekly chores. The minute that becomes a drag, then you're going to start skipping weeks. You're going to start taking days off. Your animals are going to suffer. Your production is going to go to crap.
Right.
So the real key is finding that sweet spot, and then staying disciplined enough to stay within that bracket, based on your existing personal situation. And I was very disciplined and good about that. And I think that's part of the reason why I had a lot of success. I've always wanted to be like a boutique breeder who produced like really, really high-end, unique animals. So, trust me, I go to shows and I see hognose and I'm like, wow, those are cool. I want to get some of those. I see green tree pythons. I want to get some of those. But, you got to be disciplined. Pick a species that you want to work with, and then just dedicate your time and effort, to that species. And if you do so year after year after year after year, you're going to have success.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to be known for that, whatever that species is. And once you start producing quality consistently, year in and year out, your customer base is going to grow and grow and grow. And then you'll have a viable business.
So I know that you have a lot fewer animals than a lot of the professional breeders, but you're known for creating new morphs and just having really beautiful, animals with bright colors, nice contrast, clean pattern. So tell us a little bit about how you were able to achieve that.
Well, So one way, as I mentioned earlier, keeping my collection at a certain size.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever heard of Pareto's law or the 80-20 law?
No.
Yeah, look it up. Pareto's
Okay.
law or 80-20, the 80-20 rule. Look it up because it applies to all kinds of businesses and situations. And basically what that law states is that 20%, and if I tell you this right now, you can probably think back to a situation that you were in, and you'll totally get it. Like 20% of the employees in a company do 80% of the work.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Because everybody has the lazy ass employees who don't want to do anything. And then you have the other guys who are going above and beyond. So it applies to your animals. It applies to all kinds of things. But
Hmm.
if you focus on the 20% of your collection that's producing, the nicest stuff and bringing in the most income or whatever, producing the highest end animals,
Uh-huh.
and you continually get rid of that 80%, cut out the fat, and focus on those, on refining your collection. What's going to happen eventually is you're just going to be producing really nice, beautiful, animals that I know most people average about 6 eggs per clutch. I average like 8 eggs per clutch.
Mm.
So I can do a lot more with a lot less,
Right.
just based on that. So because I kept my collection small, I would hold back females, and when they got up to size, rather than buying another breeder rack, I would get rid of some breeder females. So
Mm.
I always upgrade my genetics every
Okay.
year after year for the past 19 years. And what that does is it just makes, it forces me to keep the best of the best
Right.
and then to get rid of the other stuff. So there's not a lot of redundancy. I don't produce 10 clutches of the same thing. All my clutches are different. All my animals have different genetics and it basically different projects. So that's why when you see me start hatching, when I start hatching stuff out, I hatch out a lot of unique stuff. I hatch out a lot of variety, and I hatch out a lot of high quality stuff.
Right. Right.
That's basically it. And I see more people doing that now. So
Smart.
yeah, there's a lot of guys out there who have, small collections, but they have a lot of really, really nice, really, really cool stuff. And they're hatching out some really exciting stuff. So that's the way to do it.
Well, it takes less capital to maintain, and obviously you want the most bang for your buck. So that's a smart way to go. You wind up, only with the cream of the crop, and who doesn't want that?
Exactly. You want to hatch out stuff that, you don't mind keeping.
Exactly.
Yeah, I post stuff, and if it sells, great. If it doesn't sell, great. So
Yeah. Right, because if you're going to end up with that animal, you're certainly not going to have any heartache over raising that animal up for, however long or its whole life.
exactly. So your drink finally made it, huh?
Yay. Mango limeade, everyone. My favorite.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good policy. I mean, I just think that that's a good mindset to have. And sorry, got people on the side here. Let's see. Trying to think, who would you say your favorite breeders are? Who would you say that your mentors are in the genetically, as far as who you think is producing the nicest prize animals?
Well, definitely JK. I see a lot of smaller guys starting to produce like a lot of cool stuff. I like what Will Nussman is doing. Um, I think Bob Vu is going to be doing some really, really cool stuff in the future. There's a lot of guys. I know I'm going to miss a few guys. I have a buddy that lives nearby. You guys probably know Teron Moore,
Mm-hmm.
or pythons. He's a perfect example of having like a small collection, but he produces some beautiful animals. So there's a lot of guys out there that I basically have been watching, and that they inspire me too. They give me ideas. So yeah, it's too many to mention. I mean, the stuff that's being produced now. Like every time I go on some of these pages, on Facebook or Instagram, I see something that blows me away,
Oh yeah.
or just like just shocks me. So I think we're at a point in the industry where um, there's just so much cool stuff being produced, and so many guys producing some really really nice stuff.
So that brings me to an interesting point. So when you started, um, not started in reptiles, but really started your business, times were different, and the internet was much younger. It wasn't very organized.
Yep.
So there was not information out there at your fingertips the way it is for some of these people starting out now. There was not a common marketplace. There wasn't a place to get common knowledge about how to breed boas or even about ball pythons. Ball pythons weren't nearly as mainstream. There weren't thousands of morphs. Things were
Yep.
just kind of, we were kind of on the cusp of
Yep.
just starting out with ball python morphs. There were a few morphs. There were albino. Occasionally there'd be a funny import that came in. Sometimes people would think it was something and it wasn't.
Yep.
Sometimes somebody would pass something off and realize, they just let
Yeah.
it go and go. I mean, there was a lot of that. So, tell us a little bit about kind of, you were there through that evolution. Tell us a little bit about sort of the way things were then versus kind of what we have now.
Okay, so that's a really really good question, and so there's so much change going on right now with technology. Just the past 30 years. I mean, just like with the iPhone, like, how old is the iPhone? Like 12 years or something? 10
Something
years,
like that.
something like that. But we're going through so much change right now. And I was reading a book. I read a book the other day, and there was a quote in the book, and it went like something like, during every big economical boom or shift, there's three kinds of people: people who make it happen, people who watch it happen, and then people who say, what just happened? So, you know, things are changing right now. It's never been so easy to start a business.
Right.
You can basically start a business, start an LLC just by going on LegalZoom. You can accept credit cards. You can, build a website in like 2 seconds. You have social media. You can reach, tens of thousands of people right from your phone. Um, so right now there's a lot of change, and there's always people who get left behind when there's drastic change like that. And there's always people who take advantage of the change, and you see the players that are out there, they're on social media, they're vlogging, they're whatever, they're taking advantage of, the technology that's out there right now, and they're making things happen.
Right.
So really, it's really an exciting time. And if you're willing to put in some time and effort to educate yourself, you
Right.
really can learn, like cooking. Like I pretty much go on YouTube, and I just do an internet search, and I'll find a new dish, and I'm cooking like this really good dish. All of that is like right there at my fingertips. So you really can learn how to do almost anything right now. So,
Right.
you know, you people, you have to take advantage of that. And, whether it's reptiles or any other hobby or whatever that you may be passionate about, but it's so easy and to start a business and make money and gain knowledge. So I think that's a really, really good question. Over the years, I've been pretty good at adapting to some of the changes that took place. I mean, we started with, king snake and fauna
Mhm.
classifieds. That's where we were selling stuff initially. Um, and like Ozzy Boids, that started, you know, that was from a forum. And the reason why, I could sell snakes is because people knew me from the forums.
Mhm.
They knew me as a collector. They knew me as somebody who's always posting pictures and, making comments and helping people out. I had a lot of free time back then. And, so people get to know you online, and then people see you at the shows, et cetera. You start to build that network, and,
Right.
and then that helped me grow Ozzy Boids. And, I never intended when I started this to grow a business, but when the opportunity presented itself, I took advantage of it. So
Right.
there's a lot of ways to grow a business right now, and there's a lot of ways to reach thousands of people. I mean, you post animals on Morph Market, you have, tens of thousands of people looking at your animal. That's like having a storefront with tens of thousands of people walking through your store every day.
Exactly.
I mean, if you can't sell in a market like that, then
All right.
I don't know what to tell you.
So we've got some more people who've jumped on. Lily P, DVL Exotics. This guy, I don't know if his name's Brian Cusco. He wants to know. So I had typed, does anybody have any questions for you? So this guy Brian Cusco, I don't know. I could just see his face. He looks remotely familiar. I don't know. He says, "How did he get to be such a G?" Everybody wants to know how you got to be so cool.
Well,
uh, Go ahead. I want to hear your answer to that.
Brian, Brian is too kind, but over the years, I just basically, I just treat people the way I want to be treated. It's just that simple. So, and I enjoy the hobby. I have a lot of love for the hobby. I'm very passionate about it. So, I think that comes through in the business.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
Well, you are very widely loved and admired in the hobby. People just are so enamored by you for a lot of reasons. I'm going to catch heck for this from Chris Eaton. Oh, you love Ozzy Boids more than you love me. I still love you, Chris. I love you. But Ozzy's the man. You're just, I feel like your reputation precedes you. I mean, you've been known for years and years and years of creating, I don't want to say a superior product like, other people aren't putting good stuff out there, but that it's good. It's top of the line. People can count on you. They know it's reliable. They know it's going to be beautiful. They know it's going to be quality. And that, you're like this big icon. And when people meet you in real life, you're so kind and you're so, I don't know, you're just awesome. You're kind of larger than life. And people really love that. And, yes, you're handsome and charming and all that stuff.
you
Single, I think,
question.
right? Are you single?
It's complicated.
Are you kind of single?
Who's asking? Brian?
Well,
Tell Brian I'm sorry.
Brian, he's unavailable. I'm sorry. Um, what are some of your favorite hurt books that you used to read, before the days of having all this knowledge at your fingertips?
Oh, well, one book I'd like to recommend is The Lizard King.
Oh,
That's
yes.
a really, really good book. And I think when I read that book years ago, it made me realize one thing, and that's the reptile industry itself is it's a very lucrative industry, and it's a very big industry. There's been a lot of money in reptiles for a long, long time because that book was it was talking about, you know, the reptile industry back in the 1940s. I think it started like in the
Mm-hmm.
1940s. So that book was very eye-opening. But books that helped me out, I mean, man, The Snake Keeper, their video. I don't know if you ever saw that CD that they had, the Ball
Yes.
Python Manual.
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of the forums, the information on the forums. Ralph Davis used to put out a lot of good information,
Uh-huh.
a lot of good tips. Learned a lot from him. Ian from Outback Reptiles, he was nearby. He always gave me advice and taught me a lot about breeding ball pythons. He had a lot more experience at the time when I started out, and so that's how I learned. But there's a lot of books out there, and there's a lot of YouTube videos, etc. And there's a lot of information just on the forums.
Yeah, now, we've got so much information. In fact, we almost have the opposite problem of what we used to have, of people just not knowing what to do, because, back in the day, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, ball pythons were being imported, and they were kind of known as sort of a trash animal. They weren't anything to look at, some people would say, compared to some other snakes, filled with parasites,
Yep.
can't do much with them. And, now look at the high end animal they've become. Now we have so much information about, how to breed. There's so many people doing it. There are people posting videos and, information out there who have been in the hobby for 3 months, a year.
Yeah.
Sometimes you almost have to be careful about the information that you're receiving, because it's like a 14-year-old kid. I don't know if you saw that video that Kevin McCurley put out addressing a few people. One was like a 15-year-old kid who put a video out telling people how terrible the spider gene of ball python is. And of course, Kevin came on and defended the gene, and he said, I don't need to sell that animal. I've got plenty of animals that's not going to affect my livelihood. However, I don't think these animals should be euthanized. I don't think that they
Absolutely
should
not.
be banned. And I don't think 14-year-olds should be trying to dictate the market. And the other lady was pretty new to the hobby as well.
Yeah. So somebody posted, I posted a spider combo the other day. I don't follow all of the nonsense on the forums.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even aware of the debate around the spider gene. I had heard something when I listened to Snakes and a Fat Man. I know Chris was mentioning something over at a show in England where they banned a spider, ball python or whatever. I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
I remember when the spider gene first came out and they were selling for $17,000 and $20,000. Initially, when the whole head wobble thing was revealed, everybody was a little freaked out by it.
Right.
And, and I was a little apprehensive about it initially too. And then I kind of got a little more information, and then I realized that some of them, they have this, neurological issue. However, the animals eat and they breed and they thrive, and I've been working with the spider gene now, for a long time.
Right.
I mean, and I still have spider combos in my collection, and I have tons of spiders that are perfectly normal.
Right.
They don't wobble at all, and the ones that do have the head trimmer or whatever, again, like I said, they still grow, they breed, they thrive. There's nothing wrong with them. So euthanizing those animals, I think it's just asinine. And then the other thing that really, really bugs me is, if you don't like something, just don't get into it.
Right.
Don't buy it. But, don't be a judgmental prick and start going online and attacking people. I don't get that. Like, I don't like auctions, but I'm not online bashing people because they're selling animals on auctions. I just don't do auctions. I'm not into auctions, I'm not into the scaleless snake. It's just not my thing. But
Yeah.
I'm not bashing people because they breed scaleless or they do auctions or they do the whole Pokemon thing, whatever. You know, to each his own. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there's just a lot of judgmental nonsense online, and I just try to, I just stay away from it. But as far as the spider gene goes, the spider gene is an amazing um, morph,
Oh yeah.
and I will always have some cool spider combos in my collection. And whoever doesn't like it, they can just unfollow me or whatever, or get their panties in a bunch. I don't care, really. So that's my
Well,
take on the whole spider gene thing.
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and the truth is, any animal can have genetic m- mutations. I mean, any animal, dogs, horses, any animal, any snake can wind up and just have issues. I
Yeah,
mean,
people do too.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
say. But and there are some people that are prone to having more medical issues. But who's? I mean, we're not gonna ban. I don't think that these bans should be put in place because of a possible potential problem. Now, if you have an animal with a major cleft palate, maybe don't put that in your breeding program. But if
Yeah,
it's eating, if it's thriving, I don't see why people are euthanizing these animals.
yeah, and the whole spider gene, a spider animal can throw non-spiders that are, you know, perfectly healthy. It's not like that neurological thing is spreading and
Right, it's
animals are
not contagious.
suffering, and yeah, like it's not an issue that's causing the animals to die, or so I don't get it. And for me, um, I paid $7,000 for my spider male, my first spider when I invested in the project, and I knew about the neurological thing. I was fully aware of it. I had educated myself, and then I was confident with going ahead and purchasing that animal anyway. And that animal never had any issues. So again, if you don't like it, if it bothers you that much, then don't have any spiders in your collection. It's really that simple, you know. So, but
Yeah, I totally agree.
yeah,
Um, let's see. So you kind of already talked about the scaleless. It's not really your bag, but you're not specifically opposed to it. Um, let's see. For someone who is considering going into the hobby or the business, are there any specific tips that you would give them? And what would you say is the biggest drawback of working with reptiles or having this type of business?
well, you can't take time off. I mean, you can go away for a week or whatever, but unless you have somebody you trust to take care of your animals, you really can't take a whole lot of time off. And you got to be disciplined. So, for instance, you got to change water every week. You can't skip that. If you
Right.
skip that, then you're going to start. I think that's what causes respiratory infections.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood, I've never had issues with respiratory infections, and I think it's because I've been so religious about changing water every week.
Giving them
So
fresh, clean water.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So if you're not like 100% passionate about it, to the point where you don't mind going downstairs in your little snake room or whatever, your basement or your snake room, week after week, when you're sick, when your back's hurting, you can't skip. Um,
Right.
so animals are very demanding in that regard. It's not like any other business because you have to attend to them. So if you're not willing to do that, you're not disciplined enough to do that, or you're not passionate enough to do that consistently, then I would discourage you from getting into the hobby at all,
Right.
or definitely as a business. So
So you are known for your animals just being superbly healthy, superbly clean, mite-free. What kind of bedding do you use? And obviously, I would imagine you have animals coming in and out. You buy animals on occasion. You don't reproduce
Yeah.
everything you've ever had. So, how do you do? What substrate do you use? Do you use mite prevention? What kind of things do you do?
So I keep my animals on 100% pure cypress mulch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I get it milled, special ordered, milled 100% pure cypress. You got to be careful with the cypress that's at Lowe's and Home Depot
Uh-huh.
um, because cypress trees are protected, for environmental reasons. It's really hard to find cypress mulch, but the companies that still provide cypress mulch, it's basically a 40% cypress blend. So it's 40% cypress, 60% other woods. So you got to
Huh.
be careful. So I want to, I don't encourage people to go to Home Depot um, and go buy cypress mulch. Honestly, if you can't find 100% pure cypress mulch locally, and very few people can, I would encourage you to go with Reptile.
Okay.
But I like the cypress mulch because back in the day when we used to bring in wild caught ball pythons, especially adults, it would be
Uh-huh.
very, very hard to acclimate them. So we used to use cypress mulch to acclimate them, and I had a lot of success with wild caught females, getting them to go. You can never get them to go on newspaper or aspen or anything like that, but you get them on cypress. It holds humidity well. You can put a nice thick layer in there, spray it down when it gets dry, and it's mold resistant. You could spot clean. It lasts for months. So that's what I use.
And so the drawback with the like combination mulch that's not totally cypress is the problem that there are woods in there that can cause respiratory infections.
Yeah, they can cause like cedar, for instance, can irritate right the respiratory system in snakes.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is the other 60% you don't know what it is.
Okay.
So, and they can still label it legally. They can label it cypress, but they're only putting 40%. So
Okay.
we special order it. If you live near me, you live in the DC area, we do sell cypress mulch. So we could sell you some cypress mulch, and we're thinking about carrying Repti chip too, because we have guys who prefer Repti chip. So Repti chip, I believe, is readily available pretty much, wherever. So
Yeah, that company is growing in leaps and bounds. I've heard a lot of great things about Reptichip and about the owner JT. Cool guy.
yep, JT is solid. Yep,
And, and now they even have something they're calling Ready Chip, where it
yeah.
comes just totally ready to where you can just use it. And I know one good thing about that is that you don't have to worry about mites, dust, different types of wood that could be in there and things like that. So that's something
So
that,
yeah, the cypress does have these like little wood gnats,
uh-huh.
and when the snakes poop, these wood gnats, they come alive. I don't know. I guess they're in the wood, because
Huh.
it's a
Right.
natural wood. They're not harmful in any way. They're kind of annoying. And some people freak out, when they see the little gnats, but yeah, but other than that, you know, um, I think I love it. I mean, I've been using it forever since I started. And I love it. And I've just grown used to it and accustomed to it. I have my routine. So, I've thought about maybe switching to Repti chip, but, I'll continue to use Cypress probably for now. Um, as far as new animals, you asked, how do I treat new animals? So
Right.
whenever I get a new animal in, I don't care who it comes from. Um, Good friend, clean collection, whatever. I treat every animal that comes in to my collection. And the way I treat them is real simple. When I first get them in, I basically soak them in room temperature water. I put them in a container and put the water up about halfway up their body. Um,
Uh-huh.
and that allows them to hydrate as well too. You know, they may take a drink. I usually leave them in there for about 20 minutes. Then I take a few drops of dish soap and add it to the water and slosh it around. And that will drown any mites or ticks that may be on that snake. I mean, ticks, you're not going to see a tick unless you get a wild caught from Africa.
Right.
But mites are definitely a problem. I don't know why. I would think by now we would have eradicated mites in, you know, private collections, but a lot of people still do have them. So that little soapy water for about 10 minutes. So the water will drown the mites and the ticks, but the mites can crawl up under the scale of the snake. And if there's an air pocket there, they can survive. So when you add that dish soap, it breaks up that surface tension. That's basically, you know, that's how soap works. And then, you know, it'll drown any mites. It'll penetrate those air pockets and drown any mites that are there. While I'm doing that, while I'm soaking the snakes, I prepare a tub with newsprint. You can use newspaper, you can use paper towels, whatever, but just newsprint. No substrate.
Okay.
No Reptile chip, no cypress or bedding or anything like that. I spray it with prevenamite and allow it to air dry while the snake is soaking. Once that paper air dries and the snake finished soaking, I'll then put the snake on a treated paper. And I'll leave it on treated paper for up to 2 weeks.
Okay. So let the mite go through its entire life cycle.
Exactly, yeah, which is about 2 weeks. Because if there's any eggs on the snake, you could kill all of the live mites.
Right.
But if there's eggs on the snake, then those eggs are going to hatch. And, you know, the prevenamite treated tub will kill off those eggs too. So if you do that for 2 weeks, you should never have mites.
Awesome.
Some other snakes are different, but ball pythons are easy, and I think boa constrictors too. But like reed ticks, they have really, really big scales. So you really have to take a different approach with reed ticks.
Yeah. And you know, other species are so delicate that they might even be hurt by preventamite. And obviously, I even keep invertebrates, which, as you might imagine, you don't want to go bug spraying your bugs.
Yeah, exactly.
And even tarantulas can get little mites and stuff, so it's pretty weird. Yeah, it's interesting. But so those little gnats, they just live in your wood and.
Yeah, I think they feed off of the poop. So any type of organic waste or rotting or, you know, dead animals or whatever, I think that's part of their life cycle. So I think they lay dormant in the wood, and then whenever anything organic gets deposited in the wood and starts to decay or whatever, they basically come to life. And you'll see them as like little. They look like little tiny maggots almost. And then they basically turn into
there.
Yeah, so that's the life cycle. And then I'm assuming they lay eggs in the wood again. I don't know. But I have a little bug zapper. A buddy of mine, Randy Smith, I went over to his place and he had these bug zappers. I could post a picture on Instagram, but they work really, really well. I got it off of Amazon for like $15. So I have a couple of those in my rooms.
Speaking of Instagram, yours is like massive goals. I'm trying to grow my Instagram. Really? I don't know. Maybe I'm not as pretty as you are.
I don't know about that.
People like your pictures better than mine. But I know you've been growing yours for a while, and so I'm working on mine. How important do you feel like social media is in the success of companies, or maybe YouTube, or having some type of a media platform to grow your business, to advertise for your business, to kind of work for PR really these days?
I think for me it's been critical, and I think for a lot of, like, especially the newer guys, I think it's essential. I mean, it's a really, really effective tool, and it's right there at your fingertips. So you know, you got to use it. Although I know breeders who have enormous success, um, and they're not on social media. They hardly get on the internet, you know,
Right.
but you know, they do really, really well. You know, Mark Bailey is a perfect example. I mean, he produces amazing stuff, um, Justin Kobilka caliber, animals. And, I just think he has that customer base. He's been doing it for a long, long time. So he doesn't
Uh-huh.
have to get on social media as much. And he
Right.
comes to the shows religiously. You'll see him at Tinley when you come to Tinley in October. And I'm pretty sure you'll walk by his table and you're going to be blown away because he always has like really amazing stuff. So he
Wow.
does really, really good. And he's never on social media. I don't even think he has a Facebook account.
Well, I know Justin Kabelka's on Facebook. I don't know how active he is on it because he's
I
one of
think
the.
I think he's more YouTube and
Yeah, I was gonna say he is
Instagram.
on YouTube though.
Yeah. But his YouTube channel is awesome, and he, very professional, and he's always putting out good content. So,
Right. Yeah, I
uh,
agree.
and he's been doing it for a while. So again, you build up that customer base over time with good customer service, healthy animals, quality animals, and also just promoting yourself and marketing your product. So.
Right. Well, so what are you excited about in the future as far as your business or maybe your personal life? Seeing that Costco doesn't have a chance. Does anyone?
Well, you're gonna put me on the spot now. But, yeah, I'm just excited. I wake up every day excited, So I'm definitely excited about my collection and my projects. I'm definitely excited about my business, growing my business, and just again, spending time with my kids and just living life to the fullest. So
How old are your daughters this year?
10 and 13.
Those are fun ages.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're really, really smart, real intelligent, and I just enjoy hanging out with them and always good conversation, and just watching them grow and develop into young ladies. It makes me proud.
So, what are your daughters' names, if you don't mind me asking?
Ali and Isabel.
Oh, good. Those are great names. Okay, so you're gonna have to watch. I'll have an upcoming video where I'm gonna name two animals after your two beautiful girls.
Okay, I'm looking
So I
forward
was
to
like, I hope he gave them good names.
it.
Those are great names. So I'll have to go around the room and see who looks fitting.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Yeah, so I'll shoot you a link when that video comes out because I don't know. I put out kind of a lot of content. I don't expect everybody to see everything, I should say. Um, Let me ask you. A lot of people are kind of complaining about this big recession in the ball python market. And then I've heard a few people basically say there are ups and downs, don't worry about it. And then other people saying there's no recession, you're crazy. People are just saying that. What do you think about that?
I think the market's been strong for the past few years. I mean, this is the longest bull market that I've ever experienced in since I've been doing this. Um, are there ups and downs? Absolutely. It's like any other market. I mean, it fluctuates and there's ups and downs, and it's usually associated with overproduction, too much inventory, reduced demand, and then just insecurity with certain, some breeders start producing stuff and they feel a little insecure and they start dropping prices, et cetera. It causes a panic.
Right.
But I haven't, you know, I've been expecting a slowdown just because, I mean, I've never experienced such a long bull market.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who thinks they could predict the ball python market, you know, and over the years, there's been so many people who have been like, oh, it's over, you know, this market's going to crash, this is a bubble, blah blah blah, and they've been wrong. They've been wrong. So, you know, I just over the years, I've always stayed focused and committed to my projects, and all of that goes on in the market, it's just noise.
Right.
I kind of drown it out and focus on what I'm doing. I know that I'm going to produce some really amazing stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. And I really don't dwell a whole lot on the market.
Well, you know, if you go to any shows, it would appear that ball pythons are by far the most popular reptile. I mean, if you go around an NARBC, it's almost like a ball python show with the occasional frog or gecko. You know, you've got retic guys, you've got boa guys, but then it's like ball python, ball python, ball python. Yeah, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you almost get tired of seeing ball python.
Tired of seeing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, that's just because they're so popular. And,
Right.
you know, I've gone to some shows where there's not, like, went to Pomona, and that show had a really nice variety of different types of reptiles. I actually enjoyed walking around that show and checking out all of the different species, etc. But, you know, the ball python market is ball python. The species is just a very popular species. It has so many different color and pattern mutations, and that's not going to go away.
Right.
I mean, you know, there might be ups and downs in the market, but that's natural, I think. And
Yeah.
you know, but right now, like I said, it's been booming, and you got a lot of people rushing in, you know, the hobby. And what happens is, whenever there's a correction, you get a ton of people rushing out.
Mm-hmm.
And usually what happens is the people that are left behind are the most passionate and the most committed to that species. And, you know, and then after a couple of years of a slowdown, then you just start to see some amazing stuff getting posted, and then the excitement starts all over again. And there's not enough production because all of these breeders, you know, sold their collections and got out.
Right. Right.
And then it just, you know, reverts back. But one thing that has changed, and one reason why I think the market has been so strong for so long, is that people are a lot more conscious about what they're breeding. They're a lot more selective,
Mm-hmm.
and people are producing a lot of nice stuff. You see guys hatching out world's first every day now.
Right.
So the quality has gone up, and I think the mass production, the tendency to mass produce stuff, has died down.
I agree.
There was a lot of guys that were doing that back in the day. I mean, they would make a few $100,000 a year, and then they would just try to triple or quadruple their production so that they can make $1 million plus. But whenever you try to mass produce animals, you usually crash and burn. That's been
Exactly.
my.
Well, I think after those lulls, there's kind of a culling, like you said. A lot of people fall away, and then you have like your die-hard people who've kind of been in it for a while. Things usually improve after that. So then again, you slowly have that climb up again.
Yep, pretty much.
So to all these naysayers of ball pythons, if you just go to a show and look around, I mean, the market is there. And, you know, like you said, it may go through a little slump again, but I don't see ball pythons going anywhere anytime soon. So what are your predictions about what are the newest up and coming genes that you think are going to be the next hot thing?
Oh, wow. Oof.
Or what do you like? So what do you see that you like?
I like the hurricane. I like the monsoon. I like the confusion. I like the cypress. I guess the cypress has been out for a little while.
Uh-huh.
I like the cinder gene. there's just so much. I mean, there's so much out there, and there's a lot of existing, morphs that have been around for a long time that I think we really haven't tapped its full potential. Like Ultramel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Desert Ghost, and some others. I think some of the combos that you're going to see in the future are going to be really mind blowing. The puzzle gene is another one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree about the puzzle.
Yeah. So I just think, and I'm pretty sure there are things that are out there that I'm not even thinking about.
Right, of course.
Or I'm not even, I'm no, I'm no guru. I don't have like a crystal ball or anything. And
You're a guru.
I've missed out on a few cool projects myself, but that's what's exciting about it.
Right.
No one breeder can do it all. There's always going to be an opportunity for somebody to come along and produce something really, really cool. So, that's the beauty.
Yeah. And just about anybody can do it. Where do you predict you going in the next 5 years? You've started rodents. I know you're working in real estate. How can your rodent business, are you just doing that locally at this time in the DC area?
I'm doing it locally, but I'm playing around with some different ideas. I really would love to have 20 or 30 facilities all over the country, or somehow be involved in that. So I've been playing around with some different ideas. I really think it's a lucrative business opportunity. I mean, somebody who doesn't want to work a 9 to 5, they want to own their own business. I think it's a real easy way to make 6 figures. But again, you got to be willing to work, and have good attention to detail and enjoy working with animals. So definitely, I may be coming out with some more information soon, but
okay.
Yeah, we've been talking about some different ideas of how to set up facilities across the country and basically help people start their own business and rent the facilities to small business owners who want to set up their own rodent breeding operation.
Oh, wow. Kind of like a franchise.
Kind of like a franchise, but not a franchise. It's basically, we would be acting as basically landlords.
Okay.
But we want to set up the facility with the cage in, with the ventilation, emergency generator, utility sink. Just set up the building to where it's ready to produce a predictable number of rodents monthly, and make it to where it's a viable business, and then basically rent the facility out and provide some consulting and guidance for anybody who might be interested.
Wow.
So they could just come in and have a turnkey business, and they just basically have to rent the facility. We'll teach them how to breed, teach them our system for breeding, teach them how to set up their own business, whether it's a sole proprietor or like an LLC, and help them get set up and running. So that's something that would work with my real estate, interest, and also allow me to incorporate some of the reptile related stuff in that endeavor.
Wow, that's kind of a perfect marriage of the 3 things that you're currently invested in. That's
exactly
so smart.
We'll see.
That's an excellent.
We may do a facility around here locally first, and if the system works out and it looks like it's viable, the key is going to be finding good people who want to run their own business, because I think you can easily make 6 figures, as a small business owner doing rodents. The demand is everywhere.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's starting to get dark. And I actually have a customer coming over soon. So
do you? Okay.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay. Ozzy the genius, the fitness business guru.
I don't know about that.
You can still hear me.
Yeah, so yeah, we're going to be putting something out about that. But I think initially we're going to find somebody to work with locally, and I'm going to try to set somebody up locally, and we're going to go out and purchase the facility and basically set up the facility the same way we did our facility up the road, and then basically look for an entrepreneur or a hard worker that wants to do their own thing. So it's
Yeah,
definitely
that's a great idea.
doable. So, and
So
that,
at this point,
if that works out, then we're going to spread out and do it pretty much all around the country.
are you at your place? You're doing mice and rats?
We're doing mice, rats, ASFs, and ASFs are great. ASFs are, you know, ASFs are like a magic bullet when it comes to ball pythons. And
Right.
The other thing too with the ASFs is we've been shipping a lot of frozen ASFs.
Uh-huh.
Not a lot of people offer frozen ASF.
Right.
And some states don't allow ASFs, live ASF.
So
an alternative would be to buy frozen.
Right.
To, you know, to get around that issue. But I think ASFs are the perfect dietary food item for ball pythons.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously they're African native.
Yeah, they do great on ASFs. They really, really do well. And we've brought the price down. When I was buying ASFs, I was paying, you know, $2.50 to $3 for a large, and we're selling them for $1.75.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and we could produce them. You know, we have a pretty good system with our production. We
You keep showing those guns, Oz. I can't concentrate.
My shoulder.
You keep showing those guns.
My shoulder is a little tight.
Uh-huh.
I need to go get a massage.
I imagine I'll have some viewers emailing offering to give you a massage.
Hey.
I'll be like, here's the address. Have you guys considered, or are you thinking, or have you decided not to go into rabbits and birds too, maybe?
Nah, haven't. Yeah. We're just gonna stick with the rats, mice, and ASFs for now. But birds, like chickens?
Yeah, you know, like monitors and larger snakes, they eat chicks and birds, big birds. My biggest retics like big chickens and big rabbits and stuff like that.
I used to get rabbits from a local guy. But yeah, we're not planning on doing that. We're trying to just stay, you know, small animal lab type facility. And what I've been finding, I've been talking to a lot of breeders and doing a lot of research. And what I find is smaller operations are easier to run consistently with your production, because it's the type of thing where you really, really have to pay attention to what you're doing. You know?
Oh yeah, rodents are very sensitive.
Yeah, rodents are very sensitive, and you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to detail, etc. So I think really, really large facilities just don't do good. I think it's better to have a bunch of smaller facilities with, you know, 2 or 3 really good employees in there, and I think you'll have more success.
Well,
that's what
and kind of like you know, the 80-20, like you were talking about, and also streamlining. So, you know, instead of going into other feeders that a small percentage of keepers are going to want, kind of sticking to the bread and butter. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can do with a little 2,400 square foot facility. You can produce about $300,000 in rodents pretty easily if you have it well ventilated and, you know, temperature controlled. You can do really, really well in such a small facility.
So are you using lab equipment, or do you have a breeder rack company that you like?
We're using ARS cages, but I know a lot of people build their own cages or whatever. We wanted to systematize it and make sure that our production is consistent,
right?
So that we could train other people on how to, you know, how to clean, how much bedding to put in each box,
Uh-huh.
you know, how many animals go in each box. So we wanted to systematize it. So we just bought ARS cages. Freedom breeder cages would work too. But again, you just want to get a breeding plan, and you want to be consistent in the way you set up the animals and how you produce the animals. And then that way, oops, my battery is about to die.
Oh, shoot.
That way you can basically, uh-oh, did you lose me?
I can hear you. We can still hear you.
Okay. Well, I think we might have to do a round 2.
All right, that sounds like a deal. Well, Ozzy, thank you for being so forthcoming. I guess I could put me back on the screen so people can see somebody. You were amazing. I kept you on here for an hour and a half exactly. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I think you're absolutely incredible. I want to thank everybody, Brian Gundy and everybody else who was here on the side. I love you guys. Thank you so much to Oz, and to everybody else. Good night, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Marita. Take care.
Thank you.